Hey, what's going on, guys? Fuller here from Custom Offsets TV on the YouTube, joined by Stan, which you may know him or you may not, but you probably know him better as the Dirt Monkey from YouTube. And you kind of do like a little bit of everything on your channel.
Well, we focus more on contractors, construction, actually, you know, heavy equipment and using stuff that guys got to make a living with.
Perfect. So the reason why we have him here today is because not only are we building your Jeep, but relatively soon here, you're going to be buying a work truck and you want to make it into the ultimate work truck. Whereas we, on the other hand, always are building show trucks, and pavement princesses or mall crawlers are probably the favorite terms people like to use with that. So we're kind of going to go back and forth and just, you know, figure out what is the ideal setup for a work truck versus what's the ideal setup on a show truck. So I think the first thing that people look for when, you know, they pick up a new truck and they want to build a show vehicle, I think the first thing to look at is probably wheels from our point of view. And what they want is basically as much wheel as they can get. The biggest lip, the widest, the furthest they can get it sticking out, that's better for them because that's the look that everybody's going for right now. Now fads come and go and they obviously change, but that's what's in right now. So a lot of people are doing the 12 wides, the 14 wides, 16 wides to get those massive, up to like a 9-inch lip on there and just flashy wheels that really stand out to people. Whereas on a work truck, I mean, what are you gonna be looking for when it comes to wheels?
Okay, so it's a completely different scenario now. The difference is this the work truck of the owner operator? So this is a guy that when he shows up to a job site, he wants a little bit of style, a little bit of class, or is this going to be a work truck for one of the crew members? Because if it's for a crew member, you're going to want just something that rolls down the road and gives you the most performance. You'll be looking at, you know, how many miles can I get out of it before I have to change that over. So you need to know exactly who's going to be using it before you start to even worry about wheels and tires and then that entire thing. So when you're speccing out a work truck, that's not your first priority.
Yeah, because I think we've built a couple for, like you were saying, owners, operators, because they're going out and like bidding job sites, meeting with people. So they do want something that at least looks good, because they know that, you know, their truck isn't going to be getting used as abused quite as much as a crew member would, because those work trucks that go out to the job sites, I mean, they're getting banged up pretty good.
Right. I mean, they just get beat like a redheaded stepchild. It's just, they're totaled within a few years. I mean, when it comes right down to it. So I've bought and work trucks for myself because I've got to go out and meet with the customers and I want to be presentable. And then when I'm done with that work truck, I've turned it over, and this is something that I've babied for a couple of years, and it looks just as good as the day it came off the showroom floor. But within a year of it, me turning it over to a crew member, it's got dings in it, it's got dents in it. So when I'm going out to buy a work truck that's going to be given to the crew, I try to get the least amount but the most value out of it. So I want the biggest bang for my buck, so to speak. So I want something that I'm not going to be worried about when it comes back with a dent. I mean, just before I came here, I had a guy call me up. He smashed up one of my new work trucks. And it's like, it sucks, but I bought it to be smashed up. I don't want it to be, but I bought it and spec'd it out because I anticipated that to happen. So when I'm looking at buying that work truck, I don't want any bells or whistles. I don't want carpet in my work truck. The only thing that I want inside of that work truck is power windows. Because when I roll up to a job site, if I'm on the opposite side of the cab of him, I want him to be able to roll that window down and to be able to talk to me across from it. But if I'm putting anything above and beyond that, I'm actually wasting dollars. If that truck, if the additions that I put on that truck don't directly correlate to additional revenue brought into the business, then it's just a wasted expense.
Yeah, because part of it's like advertising too. Now, not a crew member's truck, but like the owner's truck, because you're getting that attention and you got decals on it and stuff like that. But what do you think is the first, you've got the work truck, you ordered it, it's exactly how you want from factory. What's the first aftermarket thing that you're going to consider adding to it?
Well, it depends on how I'm going to actually be working it. So I live in Minnesota. I live in snow country. So I'm going to be adding snow plows. I'm going to add a snow plow to the front of it, to the back of it. Warning lights is another thing. So if you're not into snow plowing, you're not going to obviously worry about that. But you still are going to probably want to have warning lights. If you're running with heavy equipment, you're going to need a fuel tank into the back of it. And you're also going to want to make sure that you don't get too big of a fuel tank, because then the DOT can look at you and red flag you and make you carry hazardous warning signs. So also, you're going to want to make sure that you get a bed liner into that truck, because that truck's going to rust out right away, because you are going to be throwing your tools in it. You are going to actually be using it for what the truck is meant for. And one of the things that I see a lot of guys doing, one of the mistakes that I see a lot of guys doing when they're going out to spec their work truck, is they automatically get into this mind frame of, I need that extended cab. I mean, even the co-owner of my company made that same mistake. I still tease him to this day. It's been 2 years. And that extended cab, you think you need it, but when you really look at a guy that works, 90% of the time he's solo, he's by himself. He maybe has a computer and a few select tools that he needs to keep inside of it, and that back seat is filled up with junk. It's nothing but a junk collector. So before you go out and say, I gotta have an extended cab, do you really gotta have an extended cab?
That's interesting, because like when it comes to show vehicles, like everybody wants the crew cab. They want like the full 4 doors, not the extended cab, but the full 4 doors. And it's like completely different when, and honestly, most people that are driving the trucks are driving solo most of the time, or they have one other person with them. But it's kind of just an interesting difference between the two sides.
No, it's the same. That's the problem. It's the same thing. Even when you get over into the work truck environment, you still have guys that think they want that, but they don't really need that. And then another thing that I want to get into is diesel versus gasoline.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a big controversy, and some of you guys are going to want to punch me right through the computer screen right now.
Oh, I'm sure they're on the keyboards already.
And I don't care, because here's the thing. I bought 15, maybe 20 different diesel trucks in the last 15 to 20 years.
Okay.
And I've never gotten the value out of them that they will tell you at the factory, at the dealership, that you will get out of them. Meaning the extra 10 grand, because I'm spending about a bonus 10 grand to buy a diesel engine, is never made up in the mileage and the improved fuel economy and the performance that they say I'm going to get out of it. So that diesel engine never pays for itself, because what happens is my crew beats the crap out of that truck. And you guys are gonna say, well, you need a better crew, but this is reality. I mean, I've got great crew members, but they don't treat them like it's their own trucks.
Right.
And so that truck at about 125 to maybe 200,000 miles, the body's beat up, the truck's been going off-road to work sites and job sites, the undercarriage is getting beat up, the doors are coming loose. The truck is just being used for what it's being used for, and it's time to move it on. Now, it doesn't have that many miles technically on it, and that means I haven't had a chance to recover in the fuel economy that it's gonna take to get there. Now, one of the other things too is the improved performance of a diesel engine over a gasser, okay? But if we really look at how often you're towing, that's something you guys got to individually analyze, is how much are you actually going to be towing and what are you going to be towing? So if you're going to be towing a fifth wheel trailer across country, perfect, get a diesel.
Yeah.
If most of what you're going to be using that truck for is towing, hauling, heavy equipment, you need the performance of a diesel engine. Then it justifies it. But if it's only going to be a marginal amount of the time, if really the diesel truck or the truck itself is going to just be getting you, a crew member, and the tools you throw in the back to a job site, then that diesel engine really isn't necessary. It's not doing what needs to be done. A gas engine can perform in that scenario almost as good as a diesel engine can.
And that's what we saw when we bought our 2015 Chevy Silverado, the white one that's kind of been in and out of here, is everybody wanted us to get a diesel because that's what's cool on Instagram. But when we looked at it, we were like, we want to get a truck and be able to build it without spending a whole bunch of money. And that initial 10 to 15 grand jump on the first price tag is just, it's not worth it in our eyes, because you get the same look and the same appearance from the show truck standpoint. And it's cool to see, even from a working truck standpoint, you don't always get your money back, depending on obviously how you're using it.
Right.
So one thing I want to jump into is, I feel like tires are probably really important for you guys, with how much you're using them, how many miles you put on the payload that you're using, these trucks with. And on our side of the world, tires are also super important in my opinion, but not as many people care about it. They're buying cheaper tires. Basically all tires are made in China, but they're getting the Chinese branded tires. And it's just because they don't use the trucks for what they're designed for. Our most common type of tire, though, is a hybrid. So it's a cross between a mud tire and an all-terrain tire. But what are you guys using on your trucks?
All right. So when you're driving down the road in a mud tire, it's not going to be nearly as effective as if you're driving down the road on a tire dedicated to work, especially where I'm from, Minnesota, like I said, slippery, wet conditions where I'm going down the road at 50 miles an hour and I may hit a patch of ice. I want something that's going to cut through that ice. So those tires have a different tread pattern, where you guys use the knobby, gnarly,
big
cool
chunks and really separated wide tires, but those are not good on snow.
Not at all. So the tires that I buy are great in snow and ice, but they don't look like anything special at all.
I know the Goodyear Wrangler Duratrack is probably one that I've seen a lot of contractors around here use. It's something that, it's an all-terrain tire. but it still has a little bit of an aggressive look to it, so they can get that look if they want it, but it also performs really good in snow because it's got a ton of extra siping in there. And if you want to air down the PSI, if you're doing something off-road, they hold up really good to that too. So that was a really good tire that we saw.
You see, you'll never see me airing down one of my tires because as soon as I air it down, I'm gonna have a crew member jump in there. He's gonna hook up a trailer, pop a skid loader on the back, and then everything's gonna go like this, and they've got to re-air it back up. Now that's great, the ability to air them down and up and do that sort of thing. That's great when that's what you're going to be doing, but for a contractor, you want something that's just gonna be rock steady, and it's gonna always just perform without, we don't care about modding them in that way, shape, or form. It's just not on our radar screen.
Yeah, cool. The last big topic for me is going to be suspension, because everybody in the show scene obviously wants to go basically as high as they can go so they can fit those big wheels and tires and get them sticking out really far. And we actually just did a video recently about can you tow with a lifted truck? And the answer is yes in most cases, but those guys that are towing, like if you're towing a skid loader, a front end loader, or anything huge like that, you're not going to really want a lifted truck. I mean, are there any suspension mods that you look into?
Besides reinforcing the suspension, so I'll buy my trucks as a 3/4 ton truck.
Yeah.
And then
so you get that extra leaf in the back.
Yep. And then I'll reinforce the suspension as needed without going out of the stock specifications, so to speak, because I don't want it lifted. I've got to be able to hook up to a trailer, and I don't want it lifted because I'm going to be getting in and out of that truck on a daily basis, like multiple times per day.
You need some power steps. That's what you need. Because then you can bang up those $1,200 options.
And then those are going to go to heck on me. So what I literally would do is get just the most bare bones, plain Jane thing, because these trucks are built to be destroyed. I mean, when we're working with them on a job site, guys don't care about them because it's not their own truck. Remember, I'm going to be going from the mind frame of a crew member, the guy that cares the least about it, but he wants to have something that's functional.
Absolutely.
And so there's no lifts because we're going to be climbing in and out of them. So I want something that's going to be safe, because a lot of times guys on a lifted truck is going to crack the front of their shin, and then that's a health and safety concern for the company owner. So that's that's never even an option in our books.
Cool. Yeah, it's totally different world seeing what the work truck guys want versus what the show truck guys want. So what do you guys think? Would you build your truck for work? Would you build it for show? Do you have a show truck? Do you have a work truck? Drop your comments below and let us know what you think. And that's all I got for you. Peace.
That's all I got for you too. See ya.